Welcome to another episode of Notes and Notables with your host, Trenton Petrie. Let's get ready to dive into another day's worth of educational topics. So come on in, take a seat, school is in session.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey everybody, happy Saturday. This is Notes and Notables host Trenton Petrie, and I am headed home from TMEA in San Antonio. So for those of you who don't know, TMEA stands for the Texas Music Educators Association, and it is one of, if not arguably, the largest state music conference in our country. During this convention in San Antonio, it's held in San Antonio every year, there are hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors that come from all over the country, and some even from other countries. The clarinet company that I bought my newest clarinet from, Patricola, is usually here every February, and they're from about an hour outside of Milan, Italy. So there's a whole bunch of exhibitors ranging from all sorts of different instrument companies, marching band uniforms, color guard stuff, a ton of fundraising opportunity, people and companies, just about anything that a music director could need, would need, maybe not need. And on all of the instrument displays, if you have your mouthpiece, you could just go around and play on all of them, and which is kind of cool, because you can try out all these different types of flutes and try out different types of whatever you play. If you want to go around and play on a bunch of tubas, you can, or baritones. They have all sorts of percussion equipment. So it's really a good way to experience other brands and different types of whatever instrument that you play. As well as all of that, they have hundreds of clinics put on by various music educators, ranging from other high school or middle school educators to even collegiate educators and professors. All of these clinics are geared towards helping people become better at their craft, whether it's elementary music, junior high music, high school music. They've got a ton. Just about every year they have at least one on just about every topic you can think of. Whether it's how to start beginner band, or something to do with middle school choir or elementary music, or how to make your non-varsity band at the middle school level better. Anything like that. It could be super specific or not. And so they've got a ton of that. And then on top of all of that, they also have the all-state groups. And if you don't know, every year for high school band, choir, and orchestra, they go through a process leading up to the all-state audition. And those who make it and become an all-state musician, they get to show up to San Antonio on Wednesday through Saturday. And they get placed in an ensemble. They have a little tryout, audition, place them in an ensemble. And then they work on their music starting on Wednesday night, at least for like band and orchestra, because that's what I'm familiar with, in sectionals. And then all day Thursday and Friday, they are in rehearsal. And yeah, they have some time off, so that way they can go peruse the exhibits and test out instruments and whatnot. But for the most part, they're in rehearsal, trying to make all the music ready to go, because they only have basically Thursday and Friday and Wednesday night, and then they have a morning block rehearsal today, and all the performances are today. So all state choirs, jazz bands, percussion ensembles, full concert bands, and all the orchestras, both symphony type orchestras, and string orchestras. They're all today. There's bang, 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 bang down the row. Uh, and so parents come to this, obviously. It's a huge ordeal. I think this year there was about 25 to 30,000 music educators that were at TMEA. Uh, our summer ones and the summer in July are nowhere near as attended, due to the fact that it's at the end of the summer. People may either be on vacation or they've gone on vacation, and so they don't want to leave again. Or if you're a high school band director, they have, summer band camp starting, and so they don't want to give up those days, which is understandable. So TMEA is this conglomerate of information and exhibitors. You can meet a whole lot of people, network. They've got a college night one night, and all these colleges from across the country have booths there, and you can talk to them about, going to school there, not necessarily for music, uh, but obviously since this is a music conference, that is what they're gearing their booth towards. But if you had questions about, like, could you join the marching band or a concert band without being a music major, which the short answer for that is yes. I can just tell you that. They would tell you the same thing. Yes, you can be in concert band or the marching band or both without being a music major. Uh, when I was at Texas, we had about 380 kids in the band, and only about 30 to 50 of us were music majors. The rest of them were all whatever they wanted to be. That was not music. So you don't have to be, you do not have to be a music major in college to be in marching band or to be in a concert band. You just have to, for concert band, just audition so that way they know where to place you. But you just take it like any other class. It's just you get to continue playing your instrument. So my review of TMEA this year was good. I went to one clinic that I was kind of upset, I guess. Not upset, but just kind of disappointed in, because the title of it was about building a beginner band and like making beginner band as a whole better and whatnot. And me being a middle school band director, that was right up my alley. So I went to it and got up and went to it on Thursday morning, and the first like 15 minutes of it, it was great. Good information, good thought-provoking, talk and conversation. And then it went into a 45-minute product placement for a book. And what made me kind of disappointed or upset or whatever it was, in the description on the TMEA's app, it did not tell you that that was going to happen. And that's one thing that I wish that they would clean up a little bit when they're doing their descriptions is if it's going to be a product placement, fine, but make sure people know about that. And I get it, you don't really want to, because then no one's, not as many people are going to show up. But I guarantee you, I wasn't the only one in there going, wait a second, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So, but it was okay, and then I went to the Baylor concert, the Baylor Wind Ensemble concert on Thursday, which, if you've never heard Baylor's Wind Ensemble with Dr. Eric Wilson, you are missing out. They can play. And when I say they can play, they can play. They were phenomenal band, very, very good musicianship. And it was really good. They played Lincolnshire Posy by Percy Grainger, which is my favorite and number one band piece. I love that piece. I've played it multiple times. I've conducted it a couple times. And then they played Melody Shop, a King March, which they featured their two euphoniums, which if they went any faster, I am convinced that those euphoniums' fingers would have just burst into flames on their baritone. They came out front, stood in front of the ensemble when it was time for their their little part where notes just fly off the page at a very high level. And so that was good. And then they ended with I believe it was the third movement of the Maslenka, one of David Maslenka's symphonies, and which, towards the end, it was just basic. It was a wall of sound that was so in tune that it sounded like it was an organ that was playing and not a band. Which uh, I was just like, this. It's this wall of these kids, these adults, these students are playing, and it's that in tune. Like Mr. Happy Face on Tonal Energy would be emitting smaller happy faces on the tuner. Um, as a full band, and I mean, but I was just kind of shocked that they were that in tune, and it just morphed into like an organ-esque type sound, especially like the low voices, the low woodwinds, because they had alto clarinet, bass clarinet, contrabass clarinet, contrabassoon, English horn, bass, they had all of those bass woodwinds on top of all their low brass, so it just made it sound real organ-esque, which was really great. Uh, I have this running joke with one of my friends who's a band director north of Houston, that when things get really loud, it's level oh my god. Level 1 is like super quiet, and level 5 is like marching band to the top of the stadium, and then level oh my god is like face melting. And those few last chords that Baylor played, that were perfectly in tune. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm saying they were playing with bad sounds at all, because they weren't. They know how to play. It was like level oh my god in the best way. And it's one of those, like, they play it and like you can't help but smile, because it's like, like, this is what's happening in front of you, but also B, um, like, it can be that in tune, and you can actually make it that in tune. You just have to make your students do it, and that takes work. I am sure that those kids have worked on making sure that they play exceptionally in tune, which is important, obviously, for any music thing to happen. You need to be able to play in tune. Um, and then that night, Thursday night, I went to the Dallas Winds concert that's conducted by Jerry Junkin. And it was also um, John Williams, the composer, his 92nd birthday. So they opened with Flight from Neverland from the movie Hook, which was great. Then they played, as Professor Junkin said, what concert on John Williams' birthday would be complete without something from Star Wars? So they played Leia's theme. Um, and then they played a piece after that called Triathlon for saxophone and like wind ensemble or something. Um, I did not like that piece. I did not care for it. Uh, that was a little bit too modern for my taste, but it is what it is. Like, everybody has their own taste. Everybody likes certain things and doesn't like certain things, and that's okay. Uh, but I didn't like, as me and my friend call it, it sounds like R2D2, beep boop beep boop boop boop, and and yeah, was it played very well? Of course. Did it sound good? Like, yeah, I mean, I mean, it's not like they were playing bad. It was just like, I don't know. I just didn't like. I just didn't care for it. And then they were playing also. That was with a guest soloist on saxophone. And then they played two pieces with another guest group called the Boston Brass. Not the Boston Brass, just Boston Brass. And it's a quintet, French horn player, two guys that played trumpet or variations of trumpet, a trombone player, and a tuba player. And they played two pieces, and that went really well. They were super good. Tuba player was out of sight. Uh, and then they were going to get ready to play the last piece, which was they were going to end with John Williams' E.T. Basically the scenes from the very end of the movie going into the end credits. And we're sitting there, and Professor Junkin is about to say some words before the last piece, and all of a sudden the lights come on, the screens go down with the little like TMEA logo they had on there, and the fire curtain starts coming down in the middle of the stage, and it's not stopping, and so we're like, oh no, oh no, and a stage worker comes on the whatchamacallit, the stage, and starts trying to move chairs and stands back, and some of the musicians are doing that too. And uh, somebody yelled out, "Protect the harp," because the harp was like right there, and luckily uh, it fell like about a foot behind the harp, and so the harp was okay, because it's not a very easy instrument to move quickly. And it was like down like that for like 20 minutes, and they had to like reboot the system, and so Professor Junkin just went ahead and did his spiel, and it was funny because the only people on stage were the front row of woodwinds and like the string bass players, and so he cracked a joke, and he turned around and goes, "Y'all got like the Mendelssohn Octet in there or something that we could just play?" Because I mean, it was basically a chamber group that was on stage, and that got a nice laugh from the audience. But and then finally it went up and they played E.T. and I got goosebumps because I mean like they were playing and I have the scenes in my head rolling the scenes in my head that match up to the music, and it's like you can't listen to John Williams' music and not picture the movies that they go with and not picture those scenes, and especially if it's movies that you've seen hundreds of times and out in your life like I have with E.T. or Star Wars, or I can't listen to that music and not play those appropriate scenes in my mind. But overall, it was a good clinic and convention. Got to see some people that I haven't seen in quite some time and talk to them and catch up and about what they're doing in their lives. But I do I do recommend every musician and band director should go to TMEA. And for us in the state of Texas, that's a given. Like we'll do that. But it's really for those who ever listen to this podcast and that don't live in Texas. Um, we I firmly believe that what we do in Texas for music education, not just band, music education, I believe arguably, in my opinion, is the best in the country. Top down, choir, orchestra, band, elementary music, collegiate music, it doesn't matter. Music education as a whole, I think, in my opinion, is the best in the state of Texas. And and I know that there are high schools that have like clubs or groups about like future um, music educators association or whatever. Uh, if I think that kids those should start to grow and get more kids in them so they can start coming to either TMEA or our summer conferences. But I do think that everyone who is associated with music education should attend TMEA at least once. You may like it and you want to go back and again. I mean, I do. Uh, I also think that administrators should go to TMEA and kind of work with their fine arts staff about what clinics that they should go to and speakers that they need to listen to and concerts they need to go hear. Because, unless a administrator was a music teacher, they may not have, I don't want to really say the appreciation, but they may not have the knowledge of what we really do on a daily basis and how important it is to so many people. I was talking to somebody a waiter at one of our restaurants, and they said that they believe that the TMEA conference has the most people than any other conference that San Antonio hosts in a year, in the given year. So I mean, like I said earlier, it's like 25,000 to 30,000 music educators. That's a lot of teachers. That's a ton of teachers. Um, and there is such good knowledge and trying to further music education and all sorts of stuff. And I really believe that, if an administrator, a principal, assistant principal, if they, superintendents, whatever, it doesn't matter, if they would come to TMEA with a schedule of events on what they're going to get the most out of, and again, they can talk with their fine art staff, I really do think that they would start to go, oh wow, there's a lot more to this than what I see on just the concerts. There's a lot more people that really care about this than I thought. Than just the amount of parents that are there walking around, and and family members that are trying stuff out. Maybe there's a sibling that's in the all-state group and the younger siblings in beginner band, or in junior high choir or whatever, and they're over there and they're trying stuff out, and or whatever, and so it's getting more kids invested in music, and the art that is music and music education. So anyways, I'm on my way home. I am somewhere. I'm almost to Schulenburg, so I'm in my truck. But all in all, TMEA, like I said, I normally have a great time. Get to see people that I haven't seen, and that's one of my favorite things is being able to talk to my friends that I don't see very often, and get to share with them what I'm doing, and how we're doing, and I get to hear how they're doing. But I also get to ask them about, like, hey, how do you go about this topic? Whether it's how do you teach this articulation, or that this, or this style, or whatever. How do you set up your beginner band during the third grading period, or whatever, and so to kind of talk shop, as we call it. And I think that that's a cool and a very good resource for everybody. So once you network and you have friends, then you can sit down with them and talk to them, because sometimes, and I've told people this before, I get a lot out of that than I do the clinics sometimes. Because the clinics, you can go in a room and there's 100 people, 150, sometimes more. If you're in one of the hemisphere ballrooms, it could be 500 people, and it's, so you're not going to get that one-on-one or whatever that you can with, like, your friend who's a band director in Dallas and you teach in Houston, and they do something, they do it differently than you, and you want to find out how they do that and what they do and how they get it started. So that's just, I like that aspect of it. But that's just me. Anyways, okay, so that was my TMEA, and check out my latest episode with my good friend Drew Reynolds. Our second episode. It's a little shorter than the first one, but to be honest with you, I had a region meeting to go to at right after that, and so I had to kind of cut it a little short. It's okay. He didn't care. But we've got 2 episodes so far. Miss Kelly Scott, who is our dyslexia teacher at my school, and then obviously Drew, who is the executive director at the Fort Worth Youth Symphony. So check those out, and tell your friends, people to listen to the podcast as we get more and more episodes and more educators of any kind on the show. All right, well, we'll talk to you later. See you.
This has been another episode of Notes and Notables with your host, Trenton Petrie. Join us next time as we dive into another set of educational topics with a brand new guest. But until then, school's out.